Welcome to Parenting Vanessa Clone's podcast. All right, it's a little bit about me. I'm a family interventionist. I have started the school, a nonprofit that is a K through 8, which specializes in social emotional learning, which is KFS school, along with the 3R method that works on self-regulation and body awareness, along with the social emotional learning that builds on the relationships of the child and whoever they're working with, parent or teacher. And I just have a lot to offer when it comes to interventions with kids of all ages, and it's really important for me that people have more tools in the toolkit when it comes to parenting. Welcome to Parenting Vanessa Cologne. Today we have a special guest speaker who I have seen her grow her organization from the bottom up and is doing really well. Her name is Lindsay Kauffman, and she is from Girls Unite. And she has this amazing approach with teenage girls and young girls when it comes to soccer. Lindsay, welcome.
Thank you.
Hey, how are you doing?
I'm awesome.
Yeah. So, okay, when did you start your organization? You want to give a little bit of background and the mission? And
Sure. Girls Unite started back in December of 2015. I have been an athlete my entire life, played multiple sports, and became a coach when I was in college, and really took notice that there are very few female coaches, certainly in soccer and certainly back then. And so I just wanted to create an organization, a space for girls and women. So our coaching staff is also female identified, and we're just every day trying to create more and more spaces for female identified athletes and coaches, non-binary, queer, and it's been incredible. We've grown from about 6 teams back in 2015 to working with now about 40 teams worth of girls.
so with the teams, how many girls are on each team?
They fluctuate between 12 and 18 players per team.
So I remember you when you were just like really starting out, and this has just truly blossomed. So what have you seen? Are the girls still with you from like 2015? Are we still working with the same ones?
So a lot of those,
are they coaching now? What's going on?
Exactly. So a lot of those girls are seniors in college now. My very first team was a group of girls. They're with a 2002 birth year. So they're seniors in college. So many of them come back and coach in the summers. And it's been really great to be a part of their life and for them to be a part of Girls Unite's evolution. And yeah.
And what have you seen the difference in how their self-esteem and what's the difference when the child's coming in to then, after playing soccer and really bonding with other women? What have you seen?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, that's been our mission, is to make sure that sports is a lifeline. It's a place to learn life skills. It's a place to build community and confidence. And so, our kids have definitely done that through sports. It's just another vehicle for these kids to find themselves and to be the best version of themselves.
And how often do you meet? Is it once a week that you guys are playing, or where in like?
Yeah, it fluctuates. Most teams practice 2 to 3 times a week, and then they have games on the weekends. And we're a year-round program, so most of our kids play probably about 10 months a year with us.
Okay, and so then you also travel too.
We take our top level teams to play international tournaments in the summer. So last summer we were in Sweden and Denmark, and this summer we're going to Spain and France.
And then who are you playing with? So like, when you guys are going, who are you in contact with? And how does this, there has to be more organizations going on too that you're partnering with.
So we just go as Girls Unite. Last summer we took 2 teams. This summer we're taking 3 teams, and it's just an incredible cultural exchange. Our kids are playing against kids from every continent. They're exchanging pins and jerseys and Instagram handles, or I don't even know if kids use Instagram anymore, but
they do.
Oh, okay.
On TikTok, but like TikTok might be banned in a minute, so we don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah, so that they're playing against kids from all over the place, and soccer has been a universal language. It's just a bridge for kids and coaches to meet and grow their networks, and it's just been an incredible addition to our programming.
Along with the soccer, are you guys doing community like service with anything or anything else, like bringing anyone together?
So
or like fundraising? I'm not sure, this is an area I'm not very familiar with because I've never really played a sport.
So we do tons of fundraising. We have a large number of kids that require financial assistance to play. So our organization fundraises year round. We've done things like a 5K, virtual 5K. So kids are fundraising, getting grandma and grandpa from the East Coast to give money, things like that. We do donor asks. So anyone out there that wants to donate money to Girls Unite, thank you.
Where can they find that piece?
Girlsunite.org.
You are a nonprofit.
Yes, we are a nonprofit. And then our kids, in order to go on these international trips, we require that they do a minimum of 50% of their own fundraising. So the kids have skin in the game and they understand the value of these trips beyond just being able to go and play. And then we do community service year round. We collect items like, uniforms and cleats and things like that. And we're constantly making donations. In terms of our kids getting out into the community, a couple of times a year, we get our families to do soup kitchens and things like that. So our tagline is more than a game. So we want to make sure that it's not just the soccer piece, but soccer is actually the vehicle to do a lot more within the world that we live in. Yeah.
And then for other kids, mental health has been a big component. Can we talk about that a little bit? Do you see that a lot with your kids, especially with girls, and they're going through their hormone changes? And you're working with a wide range of ages.
Yeah.
So
I'm actually going to meet with a mental performance coach next week because it's just more and more noticeable how many things are just affecting our kids. I don't want to say 100%, but a large number of kids are dealing with anxiety. They feel so many pressures that are put upon them. Our current 8th graders spent this whole last year freaking out about high school applications. Right. And all of that impacts their sports. It impacts their academics. It impacts their sleep. It impacts their eating. So, I would love to say that sports is just a way for kids to just come out and burn off the energy and let the stress go. And for a lot of kids, it's another stress, unfortunately, because there's just so much pressure. Yeah, there's so much pressure in sports. I would say not from our organization, but just the pressures that everyone is trying to be the best. And that's, it's a hard standard that we've created.
And there's also like Bay Area, right? You have all these top colleges around here, and it's like, where's your child going to go? And you're trying to just run with the Joneses of like, what's going to be the next thing? So, that is just
it starts in preschool, right? I need to go to I need to get into this preschool because it's the feeder into this elementary school, ... right? And then it's like Stanford. It's like, oh my gosh, your kid's 4. But those pressures start super young.
Right. And if you're the first child, then it's like that first child has to get into everything else because then there is to pave the way. So then once the door is open for that first child, then the next child can go in.
Yeah.
Right. So then let's talk about like parents are donating money. Then you have to do X, Y, and Z. And then this whole thing goes on. And and then the kids are just like, I just want to be kids. Like, I don't feel like kids are kids anymore, really.
Yeah.
How we were, I just remember mom like, okay, go outside and play, and then
come back before it's too dark.
too dark, and you just have to figure it out. And I remember my dad on Sundays, he's like, okay, well, my biological dad, because I have my 2 dads, and he would be like, okay, Sunday it's football time, like you're gonna go out and those that garden needs some work. That's what you're gonna do, and he would lock us out.
Yeah.
It's like go play.
Yeah, exactly.
And here you have social media, when social media is such a thing, and like, how do you handle social media with the girls? Because I think it's so easy to be mean on social media, and because you're hiding behind something else. And so what are your policies around, or I don't know if it's a policy, but just
it's pretty hard to have policies at this point because there's just it's just so accessible and hard to monitor. But we do talk about it a lot, especially with our middle school kids, because they're so deeply, deeply affected by it.
Well, what if you have 2 girls that are playing together that don't get along at all? And like, how is that conflict resolution happening? And if you're having someone bullying like other people and doing stuff?
We talk about it. Actually, we had something similar happen last fall with kids within our own organization, and girls, hashtag this and that, and it being mean-spirited for sure. But And I coach high school. So I definitely see it there where, kids from one high school posting, inflammatory comments and things like that on a post and things like that. And we talk about not only how it could possibly make somebody else feel and that, what would it be like to be on the other side of that, but also the really far-reaching effects. People take screenshots. Your future employers can, Google your name. Do you really want these kinds of pictures or these kinds of comments being associated with who, your name? Is this really who you
want to be? Yeah.
Who you want to be? So we talk about those kinds of things. And that, just deleting a post doesn't mean it's gone. Things like that, So there's a lot of conversations. It feels almost impossible to get ahead of it, but we just continue to have these conversations with the kids.
That's all you can do.
Yeah.
And the kid, and I think having that open door policy of communication is huge. And I'm here and we can talk about things but when you're seeing it, it's like having that conversation, opening the door of how do you advocate for the person that's hurt, and then also teaching the person how to advocate for themselves. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And hey, that didn't feel right.
Yep.
And what else is the underlying issue going on? So.
Yeah. And so, Girls Unite and the soccer, again, is just really the catalyst to build these communities with girls. And so that they have mentors, coaches that they know, love, and respect them, and they can feel safe to have these conversations with. And so in those ways, it feels the most meaningful, even if we win a lot or we don't win a lot, or no matter how competitive we are, is those safe spaces and those safe adults in their life are, really the reason that we continue to do this.
No, and how are the parents? Are they calling a lot? If there's things going on, because I think, and I'm just coming from my own personal experience. I think sometimes people think that I have this magic wand that I can just change everything right away. So, and it's a lot. It's a lot of pressure that comes onto, especially it's okay, I understand there's these things going on, but everything's a process.
Yeah. And
that's what I try to explain. I can help as much as I can, and there's a process that goes, but everyone has to be on the same page with the same message and the same approach. And then that's where you're going to be able to most help.
Yeah. Our families have really bought into what we are, what we're doing.
Right.
So I feel like most of our families are really supportive, and in a lot of ways, bring us into their child rearing because they see the positive impact that we have on their kids. So there's I can't tell you how many parent conversations I have a week, but it's an awful lot where we're really collaborating in how to raise their kids. And it does take a village. Yeah,
it really does. Yeah. Especially when you have, a child that doesn't know how to talk to your parents because maybe they're scared. There could be a fear of what if, I don't want to do this, but they really want me to do this, but I'm not sure how to say that. Yep. And then I don't want to disappoint them. And then maybe, it's just
kids are different in different contexts, right? So the way kids are with me, sometimes their parents never see that side of them, and vice versa. I'll call a parent and say, I just want to really say that, little Vanessa, she's just incredible. She's such a great leader. She comes and, asks to help set up and clean up, and she always says thank you. And the parents are just shocked. They're like, little Vanessa is she's just awful at home, slamming doors. And I'm like, well, I just want to let you know that you are doing something right. And whatever's happening at home, that's, we can talk about that. But just to let you know, there are spaces where your kid is really incredible. Or maybe it's the other way around. Your kid is just crying all the time. They feel scared. They're nervous. They're anxious. And the parents are like, thank you. Let's work through this. Let's work through this together. We didn't realize that she was doing this outside of school or home or whatever. So, it's a lot of collaborating with parents.
And how is it when you get a child that's super anxious? What are the tools that you use, especially just coming in as a new player just playing, right? Like that, and they're not sure exactly. And then, I have a lot of kids that, girls that are later diagnosed with autism, and they have a hard time, coordination is an issue, or following multiple step directions, or trying to find where the ball is. So how do you work with, individuals with that profile?
Yeah. So we can't expect all of our coaches to be well-versed in how to be an educator, but luckily on staff, we have several teachers, and we have a couple of special ed teachers. So we actually, as a coach community, do a lot of support with one another as well. So if there's somebody exhibiting certain signs, we have a coach on staff, Shalom Kimball, who's incredible. And our coaches will go to her a ton and say hey, this kid is doing X, Y, and Z, and she'll, give them some tools to try with kids. I've been working with kids for 20 plus years, so coaches come to me all the time.
And I can vouch for Shalom because I was like, she was with me for, I want to say 10 years ago.
Yeah.
For many, many years.
Yeah.
Shadowing children. Like we are very much in the line of liking the ones that are really that need the most help. That's where our hearts shine.
Yeah. And sports is great for many of those kids because some of them, just need to be outside and have, free space. They need to
run
around. They might, have certain sensory things that get filled in sports, being able to make contact with something or someone. So
the intensity too, right? If you're looking at that piece, 100%.
Absolutely. Some need to just be able to find their voice, and this is a great space for that. So, we welcome all kids, all abilities. And we do attract a lot of kids who do have some learning differences or special needs because we have such a loving environment and also an educated environment where we understand how to work with these kids.
Now we're sponsored from KFS School.
One more time.
Now we're sponsored from KFS School.
KFS School is a nonprofit located in San Francisco that has a strong emphasis on individualized social, emotional learning curriculum that was created by Vanessa and has been adopted by countless schools across the Bay Area and more. With an emphasis on small classroom settings, one-on-one attention, and a warm and welcoming environment, KFS encourages your child's ability to make choices, problem solve, master skills, and develop their relationships further. Find out more at kfsschool.org today. That's kfsschol.org.
How often do you meet with the parent? I mean, is it just but is it like intake is like they call you? How does the intake process work?
Yeah, it's not really an intake process like in the medical field like that or like school. So typically there's, 2 different times a year where kids would sign up for our programming. And, it's a pretty simple, like, hey, my kid's in 4th grade and they've never played before. And we find them a 4th grade team, something like that. Unless you're a more competitive player, then you have tryouts once a year. But, a lot of parents feel uncomfortable disclosing their kids.
Oh, they never will. They'll say other things, right?
Or won't say anything. So this is one thing that I really encourage parents or whoever it is that's raising kids, that if your kid has some challenges, to disclose those things to the adults that are working with them so that we can modify, so we can create an environment where they can thrive and have a great time. Otherwise, especially adults that aren't trained in these areas, label kids as just like the bad kids. And I never want that for kids, right? So if you can just say, hey, my kid has ADHD or loud noises are difficult for them or whatever, then we can make sure that we take the whistles out. We take we can modify. So that's
great to hear. Even that you just think we'll take the whistles out.
Yeah.
I mean, how amazing is that to be able to, there's some movie theater that they do every once a month or every 6 weeks where it's like, it's sensory free. Like kids can roam around, do things and they can enjoy a movie.
Exactly.
How many times are kids missing out on things because it's too loud?
Exactly.
So the fact that you're like, okay, well, we can modify this for you. Just let us know. But if you don't know, and then there's a complete meltdown and no one knows how to do it. My thing when I first meet a child is like, I want to make sure that we're both successful.
Yep.
So even if it's a 30-minute meetup and like we enjoy each other and that's it. Like I'm not going to put a lot of demands because I want to make sure it's successful because if you don't tell the child and they go to you and they're playing soccer, then all of a sudden they're having a meltdown. They don't want to come back.
Yep.
The experience for them is I can't handle this. I can't do it. And then I don't want to do it. And then to come back a second time is like, they don't want to do it. And so it's harder on the parents too.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's full circle for everybody.
Sure. Yeah. And we can define success however we want. So like with sports, obviously it's easy to say like a score that shows your team won is an easy way to define success. And we try to take that out of the equation. Like let's define success in different ways. So that has nothing to do with the outcome of the game. So maybe your kid, having challenges with sports for whatever reason, can we find a way like your kid was able to sit on the bench for the entire game?
Right. Or just watch. And
watch.
So I had a new kid start recently. And he came from another school and PE was really hard. And I just said, you know what, just sit and watch. There was no pressure.
Right.
There was no pressure. But when you put no pressure, then they come in.
Yeah. Exactly.
Now when you're like, you're going to do it, then it's like a constant battle.
Exactly.
And I go, when you can just sit and watch, because some kids just need that. What are the rules? What are the games? I don't want to make a mistake. I'm too scared to make that. So just sit back, watch, and then see what happens. And then eventually when they come in and when it's on their terms. Yep. And then they start to go, right?
Exactly.
I had a little girl one time. She's, I don't know. She just was it was actually during soccer and she was very anxious about it. And then she didn't like the rules. And so then she goes home to her parents and then the mom calls and she's like, can you just change the sport? I'm all, no, we're not going to do that, but we're going to work through this. This is a great opportunity. Yeah. And, and what it came out from this was that she was used to being taught one way. And then we have a coach at school and it was taught a different way. So she was like, this doesn't make sense and it doesn't match. And that's a generalization issue for some kids. Yep. And so she's like, well, this isn't what I want. Right. Because it has to be the other way. And I said, what a great learning opportunity to look at. Like there's multiple ways to learn one thing.
Right. Exactly.
And so, but if I would listen to the mom, I was literally like, seriously?
Yeah. But part of coming out of also the pandemic is parents saw their kids really struggle, right? For a thousand reasons. And so they're struggling still. And so they're trying to take as much struggle out of their life as possible. And in a lot of ways, I understand that. And life is not going to continue to just take struggle out for you. Your boss at work is not going to take struggle out. Your college professor is not going to. So like, how do we work through these things? And at the end of the day, hopefully we're all stronger for it. We're more resilient, can problem solve, critically think, whatever it is. And so I love what you just said. And we talk about that all the time. There's 1,000 ways to participate in being a team member. Right. So maybe you're not on the field. Can you put all the cones together by color? There's so many benefits to being part of a team. And the friendships and the camaraderie and just that whole, so many things, all of it. Right. Yeah. And, and I also think when you're on a team, you're on that team and you have to work through your conflict. Like I see in a classroom, you have 20 to 30 kids, like you have a conflict and with one kid, you can go to somebody else. When you're on a team, you have to figure it out. Right. And I actually think that builds stronger relationships. For sure. And that's also why I'm really big on small class sizes now. Because I'm like, we're at my school are very close because we have to be. It's not like you have a choice to go to the next group over there. It's not going to happen. But when you're able to work through things, that's where the growth is. And when you're uncomfortable. Yep. Exactly. So, exactly. Well, this has been wonderful. So can you please tell people, can you just spell out your website? Sure. And your name and anything, how they can get a hold of you. And if they want to do donation or if they have a child that's interested, it's all girls. Yeah. What are the ages that let's just start there. What are the ages again? What grades? So, I'm Lindsay. I am the founding director of Girls Unite in San Francisco, and our website is girlsunite.org. We have programming from 3 years old through 14 years old right now, everything recreational and competitive, soccer. And we are primarily a program for girls. We don't turn anyone away because of gender or sexual orientation. We love everybody, so come and join us. But we are definitely a space that is created for girls and women and non-binary folks to take up as much space as possible. I love that. Yeah. And do you have a Instagram or anything? We have all those things. Instagram, Girls Unite. We have Facebook. We sort of have a TikTok, but I'm super bad at keeping it up. Yeah, that's about it. Well, it's great having you here. Thank you. Thank you so much. By the way, can we just say this one time? How many? I just asked you earlier, and I was blown away. How many players do you have now? You're working with? So we have approximately 40 teams, and then we also have a preschool age program that doesn't play games. They just have Coach Danny, who's the best preschool teacher ever. Well, it's lovely having you, and it's great to see you after all these years. Same again. All right, thank you. Yep.
Thank you for listening to Parent Vanessa Kalam. Parenting with Vanessa Kalam.
And if you have any questions about your child or want to hear other tips, please go to Vanessa's website, vanessacalone.com at VANESSAKAHLON.com or email colognefamilyservices@gmail.com.